right. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is the 40 Under 40 webinar. We have some wonderful, excellent young professionals that have all received 40 Under 40 accolades and awards. So we have some great sessions, some questions and topic discussions for you today. And we hope that you get everything that you can out of this. So first, we'll start with some introductions. I am Greer Campbell with Diverse Talent. We are an executive search and placement firm. And so in addition to recruiting, we like to convene professionals, community leaders, so we can really provide some insight and have that discussion to not only make the workforce a more equitable environment, but also to provide some insight on how to continually professionally develop and work toward career success. I will turn it over to Tracy Williams to introduce herself.
Thank you, Greer, and thanks for having me today. Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Renee Williams. I am the founder and CEO of Tracom Development Group. We are a boutique consulting firm that specializes in helping executives and aspiring executives master their executive intelligence through communication mastery. In addition to the coaching we do, we also do workshops and keynote speaking, as well as retreat and meeting facilitation, all with the mission of ensuring that leaders and their organizations are best equipped to meet the outcomes and the goals that they set for themselves. So I'm really happy to be here and happy to be a part of the webinar today.
Excellent. Thank you, Tracy. Agnes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Agnes St. Preux. I am the CEO and founder of the Canaan Center and the Alliance Builder Network. The Canaan Center is a home and community-based service organization where we provide adult daycare training services and home care services to adults with disabilities. I also have a second business that I started, which is called the Alliance Builder Network, where we serve small businesses and nonprofit organizations, assisting them with grant writing, small business startup, and nonprofit management. Thank you. And I'm also excited to be here today and just share my expertise with you all on how we can help you with this journey.
Thank you so much, Agnes. Hagel, last but never least.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm attorney Hagel Laurent, Esquire. I am the founder of my law firm, the Laurent Law Office. I've been practicing law since 2011, and I've had my own law firm since 2012, so we're over 10 years. I primarily focus on real estate disputes, and within that broad area of law are landlord and tenant disputes. And that's been the hallmark of my career within that area of law. I help landlords in their efforts to remove, problematic tenants. I've helped tenants defend and, have the ability to, maintain, their rights to the property in which they reside, to get their security deposits, to, go after landlords that have committed prohibited practices. I also do appeals in a broad area of law, civil law primarily. So people that have lost in court and, want to take the next step. And I've done a number of appeals, and I've gotten some considerable measure of success there. And as of lately, I've been entering the realm of enforcing judgments. So when people get final judgments, it's really just a piece of paper if you can't go collect on it. And so I've been able to achieve some success there. I think in my 10 plus years of practicing law, I did work for a law firm and, 2 law firms. And so I'm very well aware of, being able to make those, that transition to, even if there was a nudge, to, running my own firm and the benefits and of course, the risks and the cost of that. So I look forward to discussing more and more of that as this conversation continues.
Thank you all so much. As you can see, our panelists are really committed to some mission-driven work. And if you don't already, after this, you will have access to their emails, their company websites, etc. So you can continue to follow their work and maybe even get involved. But today we have a few topic discussions to cover, and we will hopefully find out some tips and insight on how these amazing professionals got to where they are. So we will just jump right into it. As we all know, industry alone, the workforce is changing. In these past 5 years, we've seen it rapidly change. This poses a lot of questions for all levels of the professional world, but specifically young professionals entering into the workforce and looking to continue to be successful. So our first question really is, based on your experience and your insight, what would you say is a piece of the key to success to jumpstarting your career as a young professional? I'm going to throw it to you, Tracy, to kick us off.
Thanks, Greer. And it's so true that things have just rapidly changed, especially with what we experienced with the pandemic, et cetera, and how we're starting to see changes in what people desire in work, as well as what employers are looking for in potential employees. So there are a couple of things that I think are really critical, not only based on my experience, but also what we're seeing in terms of research and trends as well. So from personal experience, what I found is that when you're jumpstarting your career, you want to be open to multiple possibilities regarding what type of first step you take in your career. I think a lot of times we can be pretty set on what we think we want to do. And I would just encourage people to be really open in pursuing a different or alternative career path that might still bring them the level of satisfaction that they're looking for in a career or in a job. I know that especially those who might just be graduating from college, you might have a degree in a certain area, in a certain functional area, but your skills can be very transferable if you decide to broaden your scope and broaden your search. So I would just say stay open to what the possibilities are. Seek out some different types of careers and jobs that you may not have thought about previously. Your skills can definitely be used in a variety of different functional areas and different industries. The other side of this, though, is what we're seeing in what employers are looking for. And recent research is showing that in addition to what we consider soft skills, you want to stay on top of other skills-based ways that you can contribute to an organization. So I would also encourage job seekers now, especially young professionals, to look at what else can you add to your toolkit of skills that you can offer an employer. We're starting to see a lot more in technology, a lot more come out when it comes to the use of AI, et cetera. So I would encourage young professionals to look at what other certifications, what other opportunities do they have to continue to enhance real skills that employers will be looking for in the future.
Tracy, I love that you said that, because I think that was one of the most reassuring things entering into the workforce for me, is that I would speak to these C-suite leaders and CEOs, and they would say, well, I went to school for marketing, but now I'm a CEO. And so it really was refreshing that you don't have to have it all figured out, and that you can be open to that career transition, just like you said. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Agnes. Oh, sorry, you are on mute. another change that we had to get used to is the unmuted conferences. There you go.
Okay, I definitely agree with Tracy. Just being more open to being coachable as well and teachable. I know sometimes when we graduate college or high school, we have this wealth of information and this ambition to like just tackle everything all at once. But we also have to be mindful that we're not experts in the field, we're just starting in. So just being open and coachable to other people who are knowledgeable in that field, whether that's seeking out a mentor, joining groups on social media to learn more about the industry that you're going into. I would say that, and then be open to improvement, getting that constructive criticism from other individuals who see where you can improve in areas that you would lack during your professional career.
Absolutely. Thank you, Agnes. Any thought for Hagel, if you want to take it over?
Well, one of the things I would say in jumpstarting your career, and something I wish I could have told myself more in starting out, you have to remember, you're literally just starting your career. It's not your entire career. You're just starting.
Yeah.
And, I think as a younger lawyer, I'll be honest, I'll admit it. I felt that, there are these certain things, that I wanted starting out, and I just had to have it. And this was, I graduated during the recession. And the thing is, looking back now and seeing how some things have developed, when you're starting out, you have to remember you're just starting out. So, look to land, look to land. I'm not saying just land anywhere, but look to land and remember that you're building, so maybe the first brick you lay in the building does not maybe, almost certainly won't look like the entire building itself. And so I think something now is because of the glamour of, social media and how the whole world is a lot more instantaneous and a lot more connected, there's a lot more pressure on us to, to kind of live up to expectations, whether they're justified or not. And I think something that's important starting out as a young professional is, look, the job that you're going to have 25, 30 years from now or 15 years from now is not necessarily the job that you're going to have now. So look forward to starting somewhere and then just building from there. And something that, for me, and in particular, my profession, but I think something that applies more generally in probably every profession is, I had a judge who's a good mentor and friend of mine. He said, look, to me as a younger lawyer, whatever anyone gives you to do, just make sure you do a good job. Just do a good job, no matter how small or how big it is. Just do a good job. And, and for the most part, I did, definitely follow that. And then guess what? Things just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I was just able to grow. So those are the two things I'd focus on, as a piece, right? A piece of, starting out is, remember, you're looking to land. It's only the starting spot. So don't look at it as it's, it's the finish, it's where you're going to finish. And then number two, no matter where you land, whatever is given to you, no matter how small, just try to do a good job with it, and then, sooner or later you'll see, the growth and the reward may come down the line. It may not be instantaneous.
Absolutely. I love that you brought up the social media aspect of things, because that has definitely heavily contributed to a lot of the change of the past at least 5 years. And we will definitely get into that. But building off that first question, I think that this is a great segue to our next question, is really based on your specific experience. What would you say were the biggest challenges as a young professional that you had to overcome? And then with that, how did those challenges help shape you into the professional that you are today? Tracy, I'll have you start us off.
Yeah, wow. I think I'll start off with saying that I'm somewhat of a chameleon when it comes to my professional career. While I've always been in the space of coaching and leadership development, I've done that across a variety of different industries. So one of the challenges that I did have was adjusting and adapting to each of those industries and how I would be able to use my skill set in a way that was relevant in those industries. However, I would say, even though that was a bit of a challenge, I also looked at it as an incredible opportunity to learn an industry from the inside out. And it has given me a lot of perspective as I run my own business now. The other challenge that I experienced was I graduated when I was younger. I started in the workforce at 21 and dealt with a lot of scrutiny around not only age, but also race, gender, et cetera, depending upon what industry I was working in at the time. So I don't want to discount that being professionals of color that we did not experience certain things when we entered into the workforce. However, I will say one of the ways that I was able to navigate those particular challenges, if I ended up being the only one in the room, if I ended up being, whether it was by age, gender, or race and ethnicity, I really did seek out the mentorship and the wisdom of those who went before me, and never thought I should go about my career by myself. So mentorship is really key in navigating challenges. And as Agnes was saying earlier, being coachable in those moments as well, to understand how to navigate those situations with grace. I can vividly recall moments where I was discounted as the leader in the room because of what I looked like. I can be discounted especially early on in my career when I was younger. I was actually asked to not reveal my age when I was in a room with other leaders that I was going to be training and facilitating, because they thought that was going to hurt my credibility. Didn't matter what my training or my skill set was. They just did not want me to be discounted specifically because of that. So I had to take a step back and ask myself, how can I navigate these situations in a way that still maintains my credibility, but also allows me to be true and authentic to who I am as a professional? Can't help how old I am. Was born as a Black woman. So this is not something that will ever change about me. So in seeking out mentorship and wisdom, but also taking the time to understand what being authentic meant for me and how I show up as that authentic person every day, I've been able to cultivate that over the years and begin to embrace the things that make me Tracy Williams, right? And in doing so, I've learned that as I begin to accept those things about myself and know that there are certain things that I can't change, it becomes less and less of a barrier, because now I know how to address it. Now I know how to approach it. And I also have mentors and advocates who are there to prop me up as well. So long way of saying that regardless of what challenges you might face, do not think that you have to go about that alone. There are always going to be people who are willing to be there for you and be an advocate for you when you can't advocate for yourself, and teach you how to be that advocate. So everything that I've been through led me to doing the work that I do today through TRACOM. It led me to wanting to contribute to how other Black professionals have the platforms that they need in order for others to see how valuable they are in their careers and how valuable they are as leaders. So it truly has informed the work that I do now and the path that I'm on now. So I can only be thankful for those experiences, but also try to make opportunities and environments better for those who come behind me through the work that I'm currently doing.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Agnes, your thoughts?
For me, time management was a big one. And it's just basically knowing what things are distractions that take me away from my time. I am like this big visionary person, and I feel that I can do everything. So those things, some things are important for the work that I do, and some things are not. And those are the distractions that takes me away from my time. So just working with a few mentors, they told me how to structure out my day. So one of my mentors, he told me like, hey, why don't you learn how to just set 4 goals for the day, and once you accomplish those 4 goals, you pick up the next day, and then you accomplish 4 more and 4 more. So those helped me manage my time a lot, and I seen that I was able to like take off way more faster than what I was doing before, than like staying up all night drinking coffee. So those were the things that I was doing. So I started using just different strategies to manage my time to actually accomplish my goals and get to where I needed to be. And then I also started like writing my goals, that the things that I want to accomplish the night before. So I won't be waking up the next morning thinking like, what am I going to do? Especially when we're in this work from home era. That's the quickest way to like mismanage your time. And if you don't have that, if you're not disciplined in that area now, as you get older, it affects you, because then you'll be like, oh, I have 2 hours, I can go to the mall before I submit a project. So just for me, it was learning time management and figuring what are distractions from actually helping me accomplish the goal.
Hegel, your thoughts?
Okay, just to be sure, what is the question once again?
Yeah, absolutely. So your biggest challenge that you faced as a young professional, and how that has shaped you into the professional you are today.
Okay, well, first, I want to give some really good credit to what Agnes just stated, accomplish 4 goals a day. I really like that. So, you know, I wrote it down, and I wrote her name to make sure I give her some credit. Hopefully she'll be right next to you've seen the speech of I think he's in the Navy, that he said like you should make your bed every day, and how that'll help you. Maybe someday Agnes, you know, could be right there with the 4 goals a day.
Yeah.
You know, I think I think the hardest things I've had to face as a young professional, very early on, I kind of got rolled into starting my own practice. I was, you know, looking for other opportunities, and I was being very, very selective. And then, you know, someone in my family who, you know, who's a business owner, you know, brought the idea of maintaining my own practice. And to the point, I still say to this day, he had a legal situation, and he said, "Look, here's my legal situation. I will pay you what I would pay a firm, and I want you to handle it. No, you do whatever you've got to do." And so I said, well, I'll take the money. And I was able to successfully help him out in the area of law that I generally do not practice now. And so, the faith he had in me said a lot, and it showed me like, wow, I could do something that I didn't really know I could do. And so, although I was still looking for employment, but little by little, my practice started growing. But I guess one of the challenges, for me in doing that, and I could say throughout all of this, is knowing, okay, what my goals are for myself and where I am, but also being able to focus on that despite a bevy of other distractions that will come for someone running your own business. For example, your peers, what they're doing, family. A lot of people in my family just envision their model of success was someone working for someone else. And of course, I don't dissuade people for working for someone else. As a matter of fact, I find a lot of comfort in working for someone else. It's each person has to find what works best for them. But that was something for me that was challenging, is that, I didn't necessarily have a lot of support, within, within my inner circle in terms of my family, because everyone had a certain model of success that they saw. And what I was doing conflicted, with that. And so now, look, that doesn't mean that they're always wrong. I mean, there's a lot of times if everybody's telling you something, there's going to be a lot of times they're probably right. I wouldn't say it was everybody, but I think the thing is you have to, make sure you have goals for yourself. You have a plan. You have to have a plan. And that plan has to make sense. And I mean sense as in CENTS, right? Because bills have got to get paid. And so, and I did, ultimately have those things, but I can understand it can be a challenge. And look, that could just be the same as a challenge for someone that, maybe you begin in your industry at a different level than probably you anticipated, but you believe that this is the place for you to start, for you to get your start going, and for you to, get your career off to where you want it to be. But everybody else has different expectations for you. And another thing is, for me, coming from law school, I had seen a lot of my peers doing some exciting things, that was, a lot more attractive than, hey, I'm running my own practice. But now, and seeing where I am, it's funny how a lot of people have said, man, I wish I could run my own practice. And a lot of people have left things they were doing. I've got classmates of mine, one that's a painter, another one, she teaches yoga, and these people are happy. This is where their happiness is. But I say that to say that, imagine if I was placing myself of, well, I just want to be these people because they have this or they have that. And now those people left all that and they weren't happy. And then I'm happy doing, all along what I'm doing for me. And so, as I said earlier, social media definitely plays, a role in that. And I think that is definitely one of the challenges. One of the things I tell people, when I was in school, I went to a private school. And, even though I knew that other people had a lot more than I did, but it would have been different to see it live. Like, you can see their European vacation while you're at home, right? Like, you just sit there and watch it. That would have been a different and a lot more challenging to deal with those things, but that's the reality, we live in now. And the goal is to focus on, what are your goals for yourself? What do you want? And just focus on that. And I think, fortunately, I've been able to do that. And now I'm definitely in a place where I love where I am and I love what I'm doing. I'm proud of it. And it's worked out well for me. But I could have easily lost track and diverted, and I could have been at a job somewhere that maybe it looks great, the glitz and glamour, but I would have been unhappy and not happy at it. Whereas I love to think I'm successful. I love what I'm doing, and it makes sense. CENTS.
Absolutely. I think something important to make note of all of your answers is, it sounds like advocacy has a lot to do with your experience and your journey to success. Diverse Talent, our CEO, Michelle Campbell, she created Diverse Talent after, for 30 plus years, hearing in the legal space, well, Black attorneys just don't exist in Minneapolis, or CEOs of engineering firms, Black people are not in CEOs of engineering firms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. To which she knew was not the case and was not true. And so Diverse Talent really was born out of advocacy to leverage and to change, not even create space, but make that space known that talent exists across all industries. It is there. And so Tracy, Agnes, Hagel, I think that it's so important to share that perspective and be that advocate and mentor for everyone that is experiencing young professional and entering into this workforce with all of the barriers and all of the challenges that come with it, that maybe people that look like me don't face and don't even understand. So advocacy is really what I'm hearing, and just from the experienced Diverse Talent and where we were born out of, it's so essential to professional development, company development, and company success. So I really appreciate all those different perspectives that really, what I took from it, all come back to the advocacy piece.
Absolutely. And thank you for saying that, Greer, and for giving everyone the overview of why Diverse Talent was born. And it was out of a necessity and a need. And I just want to reiterate that that necessity and that need is still there. It is still something that we are we are fighting against and fighting for every single day, not only in our roles that we hold, but also for others that we help and that we advocate for. So thank you for the work that you all are doing. And I know that there are people who are watching, people who are job searching, and even employers who might be watching who need to hear that message as well.
Absolutely. To segue, we talk about advocacy, mentoring, and that really comes with your network of like-minded individuals and professionals around you, which is something that I think, just speaking from experience, you don't really think about coming out of college or entering into the professional world. You think, yes, I'm going to meet like-minded professionals and build a network, but today it's really, you have to be strategic. And so my next question is, what were your strategies, or what would you suggest to a younger professional on how to build a network that they can grow with and grow from? Tracy, we'll start with you.
Sure. So there are a couple of things that I did when I was younger that I think are still helping me today. So the first thing that I looked for was what are the associations or organizations that are most aligned with the work that I am involved in right now. So for me, that at the time was ASTD. It was looking at specifically in human resources, so Society for Human Resource Management, et cetera, and just looking for opportunities for me to attend conferences or even just networking opportunities within those professional organizations. But then I needed to take that a step further, because again, looking for spaces that had people who looked like me. What were those community organizations for young Black professionals, or professional organizations that were specifically for Black professionals and people of color? That is where I began to find not only mentors and advisors, but people who ended up becoming a part of what I call, I don't know if y'all have heard this term, but a group of unicorns is called a blessing. I just found that out a couple of years ago. And I have my own blessing, my own group of unicorns now who push me, challenge me, and encourage me, advocate for me. They are the ones who are speaking my name in rooms that they are in and I'm not. So I'm so blessed to have that group of women we're the same age, we are on the same path professionally, et cetera. But it started with looking for both professional organizations and community organizations. I became a member of a community organization here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area called Bridge. And it was founded by Black professionals because they wanted to ensure that we had an opportunity to be the bridge in that community between our generation and generations who came before us, and continue the legacy of what those generations before us had done within the community. And that was a great opportunity for me to not only meet people who were like-minded, but also serve. So the last thing that I'll say around this piece is that as you are seeking out organizations that you become a member of, also look for ways that you can be of service in those organizations, because that is actually where you get the most benefit from those organizations. As you are serving them, those organizations begin to serve you in even greater ways. One of my favorite quotes that is in my email signature is that if service is below you, leadership is beyond you. So I always advocate for people to serve in whatever ways they can. And you'd be surprised at how that service begins to expand your network beyond your wildest hopes and dreams. That service for me led to a lot of the community boards and roles that I held, and I'm still in position to hold right now. So I'm very thankful for that path. And I would encourage anyone who's watching to look at not only what can you be a member of, but what can you be of service to as well, to allow that to expand your network beyond what you would even think it could be.
I love that you said surrounding yourselves with individuals that will speak for, not for you when you're not there, but speak for you. And I'll never forget, Meghan Markle, she gave a speech, and in her speech, she said, you know, she was specifically talking about women, but I think that this can be identified in so many ways. You know, if women need a seat at the table, and if there's not a seat available, we need to bring up our own table. And so I think that that is, Tracy, what you were saying of looking for a network that will bring a table and give you a seat or make room at that table for you. I think that that is so important. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Agnes.
Well, to piggyback off of Tracy, definitely being of service, that's like number one. I love to volunteer. I love to be, I just love service work, period. Service work is part of my life anyways. But just being that person who's willing to take on an extra project and be like, hey, I can volunteer for this. I can, I have extra time to do this project, or I can look over something for you. Just giving that person your extra time, to show them that you're interested. I think that's number one. Even though you're probably not sure of like, hey, I want to go in this industry, but taking that time to volunteer, to just to know what it is that you're getting into, I think that's beneficial. And then knowing how to find those places, you can sign up for the Chamber of Commerce newsletters. Every major organization has a newsletter, and they always have events every month or every week. So just signing up for those newsletters. If you're Haitian American, if you're Latin, whatever culture you are, they have Chamber of Commerce for all of those things. And those are the places where you find like-minded people who are on the same mission, who are and driven as you. Also, like for me, I'm like a super shy person, but I do all these cool things. So I like small settings. And just like the other day, I expanded my network just by doing a morning walk. So I was doing my morning walk, and like a couple weeks prior, I seen two individuals. One was a home health aide, and the other person had a child who had a disability. And I walked right past them, and I'm like, wow, I can't let this moment pass me by again. So I went yesterday walking. I had no idea I would have seen these people again. And then both of them the same time, back to back. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to take this opportunity to expand my network. And I did. And so if you're not even comfortable with like speaking in a big crowds or going out networking, if you notice people in your community who are probably interested in the same thing with you, or they have on a texture and you want to know more about it, just reach out and ask them, and just be approachable. On top of that, be approachable and then reach out and ask them about it. So volunteering and just being comfortable enough to ask questions.
I love that. I love that, because it is kind of stressful for a lot of people if you're not outgoing, or if large crowds, public speaking is not your scene. You know, you shouldn't be neglected for building your network. And so finding your comfortability, that's awesome. Also with the morning walk, maybe I should take a different route for my morning walks and see who I meet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Agnes. Hegel.
Okay, you know, I'm taking some notes, and right after what I got for Agnes last time is what Tracy said this time: is service is below you, then leadership is beyond you. And I know the question that we have is specifically on networking, you know, but on what she said, I did want to specifically say, you know, I have people that work for me, and you know, one of the things I say, and this is for people out there in the professional world, is it's I think sometimes we all want to do and jump on be with the big shiny thing, but a lot of times it's on building those foundational blocks. That's where greatness comes from over time. And so what I did for my staff is I had visited the Civil Rights Museum in Atlanta, Georgia. and I went in the gift shop and I saw a quote from Dr. King. Now we all know there's a more familiar quote that he has: everybody can't be great because everyone can serve, you know. But I found another one that's kind of close, but I really thought hit the spot of of something I find very important for people more generally in the professional world. It says, if I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way. And for someone entering the professional world where, it's less likely that you're gonna be the one to make the big breakthrough, don't just go and focus on a big breakthrough. Just focus on, doing all the small things in a great way. And then you never know when the opportunity for the big breakthrough will come, because it could be because you're the one that reads all the emails, right? That you noticed an email deadline that everyone else just didn't read because they didn't scroll all the way down on the email. So now, just because you scroll all the way down the email, you caught something that no one else caught by doing something, very basic. And now to the more general question on networking. When I was in college, after my first year, I went to college at Florida State University in Tallahassee, Florida, and they have like a law program they have every year where they invite some first years, primarily with Florida relations, because they ultimately want you to come and go to Florida State's law school. And I got into it, and they had a presentation of certain professionals they want us to meet. And that first professional, that came in, he was running his own law firm. He had all the associates come in, and he came in at the end. And I just remember he had such this very nice watch. And one of the things he said is, who you know will often mean more than what you know. Who you know means more than what you know. That attorney was attorney Ben Crump. And no matter your thoughts on politics, there is no doubt that he has been a successful attorney. I'm in South Florida. They just named a local law school after him. And so one of the points of that is, you've got to network. Another attorney told me, look, you could be the greatest attorney in the world, but if a client doesn't know that, they're not going to hire you. And so, you have to go out, build your network. One of the things I have said many times this year, since about about a month ago, the Florida Bar has an annual convention for attorneys. I call it the Nerd Convention. And this was the first time in which I truly went and attended, several events. I had went one time before years ago, but I only went like really late to really more the after party for the Nerd Convention, whatever that means. But this time I went for several days. And the network, the energy I was able to get from my firm, just to self-improvement, and people seeing you out there and people I had heard of, I mean, it was just amazing. I was like, oh my God, I wish I would have went to this so many times earlier on in my legal career. But I kind of felt like, well, I shouldn't go unless I have like I've got all this to brag about, or I reached a certain level, etc. I saw that I was missing out on valuable connections. And more importantly, well, maybe not more importantly, but interestingly, they have a lot of vendors there. And if you sign up, you can get something. And just before this started, I got an email that I won a $300 Amazon gift card just for signing with one of the vendors. And so the thing is, there's opportunities you're missing out on by not networking and by not getting your name out of it. And I didn't get that because of any accomplishment I had other than just signing up. And so I think that particularly as a younger professional just starting out, I think that's important. And you don't know who's going to give you the great piece of advice, or who's going to put you, with that special connection that you need to, to build your career and have your career advance to the next level. Because let's face it, who is very important. Now, of course, it's not going to, generally speaking, supersede what you do and the effort and your talent, but it can put it in an elevator and get it to that next level. So that's what I wanted to say on that.
Absolutely. Thank you all. We are inching up to the close of this webinar. So I want to ask just a question from the audience very quickly, and then we'll ask our final question and wrap it up. So someone sent in and said, do you have to be a manager to be successful? So a very general question, but I'm sure a lot to unpack. So Tracy, I'll turn it to you to get us started.
Absolutely not. You do. There's a difference. There are all different types of leadership. And one of the things that I learned early on in my career is that from a leadership perspective, as well as however you define success, because people define that in different ways, that can be achieved through multiple paths. You do not have to be a manager to be successful. In fact, dependent upon what you pursue, there are people who will pursue their technical path all the way for 25, 30, 40, 50 years and achieve even greater success than some people who are in management. For the person who asked the question, as well as anyone, I would say that is why it's so important to look at all areas, to be curious early on in your career and look at what path you can take that will help you achieve what your definition of success is. We all define success in different ways. So don't let someone else tell you what success should look like for you. Really take your time, especially as a young professional. You have time to explore. You have time to be curious. You have time to ask questions, and you have time to just try something out to see how you like it and if it's something that you want to pursue.
Agnes, your thoughts?
You definitely don't have to be a manager to be successful. I agree with Tracy. And you're like Hegel started off saying, you're just starting off. So take that time to learn, take that time to grow, meet new people. Sometimes even the manager isn't successful at being a manager. So that's why at such a young age, wherever you're at in the point of your life, just taking that time to just gain that knowledge that you need, always be a continuous learner. I think that's something all of us can agree on. We're constantly learning new things, learning new heights, because the manager is never going to be better than the next manager. It's always going to be someone better than the next person. So success is not about being a manager. It's about, for me, mainly it's about the people that you serve along the way and you help bring up. So no, you do not have to be successful to become a manager.
People.
Look, you define your own success. And one of the things I've seen in life is how the definition of what is successful, it's so, it changes over time, and it means different things to different people. So, something that a lot of people want to do when you're in law school is you want to be on law review. That's kind of like, you could kind of in a weird way call it the honor society for law school, And I remember there's this exam you have to take before you're on it. And I remember the guy that sat across from me while taking the exam. He was a friend of mine, and we just had to kind of look at each other throughout the whole the law review exam. Ultimately, unfortunately, I didn't make any of the law review journals, and this person made the highest, journal, and ended up getting Tony job, fancy job, right out of law school. And about a year ago, I was, catching up with, with the person, and what they're doing now is teaching high school history and coaching high school football, because ultimately this is what this person is happy with. He has more time with his family, and he's happy doing that. When I was sitting down taking that exam with them, never would I have thought that 10 years from now that this person would be coaching high school football and teaching high school voluntarily, full-time, not practicing law at all. And so the thing is, at that time, you would have told him and I that would have been successful. We would have told you that was crazy. No way that would happen. But here we are, You know, he's factoring other things that at that time, him and I, as two 22-year-olds, we're not factoring and we're not placing a value for. And, for me, that's one of the things you want to, really focus on is what is success to you? What makes you happy? Now, look, for some people, making them happy, let's be honest, they want to be the manager, and that's okay. Put in the work and go after that if that's what makes you, that's what does it for you. But if, for example, for you, it's not necessarily being the manager, you're at some other level and you're happy there. You don't want to put all the additional time and all the stress that it takes to be the manager. That's okay, especially with everything we've got going on in society. I think one of the things we got to focus on is, what do you want? What do you want? How much are you willing to put in for it? And what does it mean, to you? And I think, once you begin to focus on what do I want, and it could be you want to be the manager. And so look at what time, resources, and energy you have to put into that and go after it. But just know that it's okay if it's not. You have another definition of success that makes you happy. Because one of the things I've heard many times is you can fool everyone else into thinking you're happy, but you can never fool yourself.
Absolutely. And we won't have time for the social media discussion, but I think that, having, like you said, Tracy, you have time to be curious, and Hagel, you define your own success. I think that it does the water gets murky when you're comparing, someone my age that is running their own company, and I'm not even sure if I want to be a manager. And so it does get difficult. So I think that, just like you all said, taking the time to feel out what you want to do and what you're comfortable with and what you define success as. So I really appreciated that, because I know even personally, I need to hear that a lot of times, because society and stigmas and what's considered norm, we're trying to break down those barriers. They will never be completely broken down. So it's important to be true to yourself, like you all said.
Yeah.
So we will close out with just one final question. That really is one or two pieces of advice that you have for young professionals that are kickstarting their career. Tracy.
Two things that I would encourage young professionals to do as early as possible. First is to identify what your values are. You'd be surprised at how much knowing what you truly value can play a role in how successful you are in your career. And it doesn't mean that those values won't change over time, but you should know what they are now so that you can begin looking for opportunities to exercise those values within your professional and personal life, as well as set boundaries around those values as well. Because the more you know what you value, the more you know what you're willing to accept when in your professional career. The second piece of advice I would give is to spend some time with yourself and ask yourself, who am I authentically, and how do I want to show up in every space that I occupy? And once you identify that, lean into that authenticity and don't be afraid to take up space in every environment with your true authentic self. You'd be amazed at how people are willing to accept who you are authentically, especially when you're seeking out environments that align with what you value and align with who you are authentically.
Agnes.
I would say, just be confident in what it is that you're pursuing. There's going to be millions of reasons on why you shouldn't pursue it, whether it's personal life, health issues, or whatever. If that belief is there, it's there for a reason. So just be confident in that moment and tackle those things like head on. Also, I know we're in a culture where sometimes I think we use the word so loosely. I need a mental health day. Some days you just need to just get the ball rolling, not be distracted. Do not be just all over the place. Sometimes it's not mainly all the time a mental health day, but just getting on track of what it is that you want to do and being committed to that. and just having that tenacity to keep going forward, not giving up. For me, just thinking about all the things that I went through as a young woman, as a teenage mom, everything, I had like many opportunities to stop, to just give up and to not be successful or to be where I'm at now. But I had that tenacity. I had mentors around me. I had people who encouraged me and pushed me. So, and that made me even more confident to know that I'm gonna be successful one day. So that's what I would give to all of the young folks listening on this webinar.
So, Hagel.
You know, what I would say is, I guess, two pieces of advice. You know, well, one of the things, especially once again in the social media world, that we live in, and just different professional environments, just in the society that we live in. For me as a lawyer, and just in the nature of being a lawyer, you're pushed to zealously advocate. You always have to make your position. We're always taught to respond, right? Don't just be a sitting duck. And one of the things I will say that I've learned throughout, the profession and my life experiences in it is, you don't always have to respond, to everything. Sometimes we're burning up energy on something that, maybe the best thing to do is to let it go. And something I think about, as I'm saying this is, many years ago, I represented someone that I know. I'd like to say that the representation was successful. And this person was someone that, knew me very well. And so, there was a certain point in the representation, the person wasn't happy, and the person did, just the worst thing. They took to social media. And, I always thought, that the person that would go and do something about me on social media would be some random person I didn't know. But it was actually somebody that I knew, and they were saying all these negative things about me on social media. And then you got to remember, one of the things we have to remember as lawyers is, like, they can't say bad things about me, and I can't just respond, because I still have an obligation as their attorney. I'm still bound under confidentiality or certain things. And so people were telling me to respond. And what I did is I just never responded. I never responded to that. And, it went over well. Nothing happened, became of it, and life just went on. And that was literally from me not doing nothing. And people were saying, I'll respond for you, this and that. And, it was a comforting thing. I had people that reached out to me and said, well, we know what kind of person you are. We're not going to let that, whatever this person is saying, take over who we know you are, even though I couldn't tell them. I couldn't tell them any details. And so the thing is, probably looking back now, one of the worst moves I ever probably could have done would have been to respond. And even, because the thing is, one, I'm limited in terms of what I could say. And two, as soon as you open up something, you're kind of giving a microphone to someone that's desperately looking for one. So sometimes, especially as we deal with social media and everything, and sometimes even in a workplace, there's a time maybe you don't need to respond, and let your future actions, speak, for itself, and wait until maybe an appropriate forum for you to respond, can come to. And if you look at a lot of people that are getting caught in social media gas, it's usually because, of the response. Probably if they just let it alone, nothing would have happened. And this goes even into, your personal life as well. So that's one thing. The second thing I wanted to say is the value of opportunity. As a young professional, you see you have your whole life, your whole career ahead of you. One of the things, I think that has been a big difference maker for me is that I valued opportunity. And the problem with opportunity, sometimes it doesn't always come in the way that we want it to. It doesn't always come with as much money as we want it to. But but the value of it, we can't understate that. And the thing I always think about with that, and as usual, I have a little nugget of the story, and I'll be short, but and take your politics out of this. The worst thing you could do sometimes is, not let a good piece of information get into you because of, whatever, notions, preconceived notions. But my my government professor in college, and context matters. He was this much older white man, and he was from North Carolina, from out in the country. And here I am from Miami, young guy in leadership, and on campus. And so I took his course, and then we built a great connection. And then we're having a debate on whether then Senator Obama should run for office. And I said that Senator Obama needed more experience. He needed to do this. He needed to do that. He needed to do all these things, right? As the young guy, this older guy, he was saying, look, Hagel, I hear everything you're saying, but he may never have the opportunity he does now. He may have more experience in all these things, but the opportunity he has now, you don't understand it, And obviously we saw what happened. No matter what your politics are, he won the election, and because he had a great opportunity to do so, and we all assumed that Hillary would probably win the next one. We saw how that went. But the key is, for me as a young attorney, this how this plays into my career. The first time I went to court as a young attorney, less than 1 year practice, my first time in circuit court, not my first time in court, but the first time in circuit court on a very serious matter, the judge ruled against me. And I had done all my research. I prepared for this so much. And I thought the judge was absolutely wrong and I should appeal. And there was a senior attorney that was, he was going through the hearings with me because he had his own case. And he was like, kid, you're crazy if you think you should appeal this. An appeal is very expensive. You don't know what you're talking about. It's your first day in court and you're saying the judge is wrong and you should appeal it. And I did appeal that situation. And after much back and forth, I won from my first day in court. Because the thing is, even though maybe the dollars weren't right for me as a young attorney, the risk for me as a young attorney saying I'm appealing a judge was costly. That's not a good way to make friends, as a young attorney, is to come in saying, hey, I'm appealing the judge and I'm appealing the state attorney. But I won, and that win for me has opened so many doors. It's really put my career, it really took off for me, because that's when I got a lot of work and people wanted to know things about me. I was being interviewed and asked questions, etc. All because, yes, the amount of money I was paid then, I couldn't imagine being paid that amount of money for something now. But it was the opportunity that I had to win on something and, ultimately get a measure of justice for a client. That was important, even though it didn't come in the best and brightest way. And so remember that as a young professional, the value of opportunity. Maybe later on you could do other things for more money, but it may never be as good of an opportunity as you have that's in front of you. So.
Some wonderful perspective. I wish that this was longer so that we could continue, but we are at the end of the event. So I just want to thank our speakers for their perspective, their insight, their resources that they've provided. Again, attendees, you will all get another email with our speakers' information to continue the conversation if you so please, but definitely to follow their journey and their implementations that they do within their community. So thank you all so much. The insight, at least for me, was astounding. So I really appreciate your time and commitment to this work.
Thank you so much, Greer.
Of course. Well, everyone have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you all very soon.
Alrighty,
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye.